Hi friends, we are going to start a new unit today. So this is unit 2A. There are two parts to this, and we are going to learn all about the Middle Ages, which is a period of time in history where things were a lot different than they are today. So we have a lot of vocabulary. The first word is brief, which is an adjective, and that means short. Category is a noun, and it is a group of things that have similar characteristics. A consequence is a noun, and it's a result of something. Explanatory is an adjective, helping explain or make clearer. Fact is a noun, something that is true. Highlight is a verb, to focus and draw attention to something. Indicate, verb, to point out something. An informational book or text is a document providing facts about a topic. Informative is an adjective, providing information and facts about a topic, useful or helpful. Link is a verb, to connect two or more things or ideas. Negative is an adjective, having harmful or bad qualities. Positive is an adjective, having useful or good qualities. Quotation is a noun, a direct excerpt from a text. Reflect is a verb, to think carefully about something. Relevant is an adjective, relating to a subject in an appropriate way. And specific is an adjective, clearly and exactly stated or presented. All right. So chapter 1 is called Welcome to the Middle Ages. And our big question, what are some of the events that led to the Middle Ages? If you know anything about knights, castles, or Robin Hood, then you already know something about the Middle Ages in Europe. The Middle Ages may seem to be an unusual name for a historical period, especially one that lasted for more than 1,000 years. People in the Middle Ages did not know they were in the middle of anything. They thought they were modern, just as you and I do today. In fact, the Middle Ages was not a phrase used by the people who lived during that period. It is a term modern historians use today to refer to that time period between ancient and modern times. We begin our journey into medieval Europe, another name for the Middle Ages, by examining some key events that happened long before this age began. The first major event that helped to transform Western Europe occurred when the mighty Roman Empire, having grown too big for one empire to rule, broke apart into the eastern and western parts of the empire. This division had a major impact on Western Europe. With the Roman Empire split into two parts, different tribes took the opportunity to seize some of its lands. Interestingly, some of these people were given the name barbarian from the Latin word barbarus, meaning foreigner or not Roman. The Romans may have considered these people to be uncivilized because they did not speak Latin, the language of the Roman Empire. We've got a map here showing the two different parts of the Roman Empire and the directions that different groups came in to the Roman Empire. Some of the most successful barbarian invaders were Germanic tribes such as the Franks, the Visigoths, and the Vandals. These tribes lived on the edges of the empire. As the Romans became unable to defend their borders, these tribes pushed farther to the west. The Vandals looted towns and villages so badly that today we use the word vandalism to describe the destruction of property. The most infamous so-called barbarians were the Huns from Central Asia. Attila the Hun led this nomadic tribe as they invaded parts of Europe in the 400s. As the Huns conquered, they drove the once dominant Germanic tribes even farther into the Western Roman Empire. And this is Attila the Hun. As warlike tribes swept across Western Europe and powerful kings emerged, another transforming force appeared, the Christian Church. Throughout these years of change, many people turned to the church because it offered them a sense of stability and hope. The heart or center of the church was in Rome, the seat of the papacy. Slowly, more and more groups of people became Christians, including the Germanic tribes. Over time, the church became even richer and more powerful than many kings and queens. It is this time, when the Roman Empire was no longer the only powerful force in Europe, that many historians consider to be the start of the Middle Ages. Roman, Germanic, and Christian ideas, as well as powerful kings, began to shape Western Europe. In one of the Germanic regions, a great ruler emerged. His name was Charles, and he took control of much of the land that later became France. Charles ruled for more than 45 years. He increased the size of his empire by gaining land in areas that are now part of Germany, Austria, Italy, and Spain. As king, Charles defended the authority of the church. He promoted the spread of Christianity. On Christmas Day in 800 CE, he was crowned Roman Empire by the Pope in Rome. His reputation was so great that later writers call him Charlemagne, which means Charles the Great. And this is Pope Leo III crowning Charlemagne Roman Empire in 800 CE. Charles encouraged new ideas and promoted an interest in education and art. To help him rule his empire, Charlemagne also encouraged a system of government that we now call feudalism. He gave land instead of money to those who worked for him in the military or government. The practice of paying men with land spread throughout other countries in Western Europe. Life in the Middle Ages was not the same as it is now. For one thing, people who lived back then probably thought about time differently. Many people measured time by the rising and setting of the sun and the passing of the seasons. For this reason, life likely had a slower, steadier pace. In addition, there was a strong desire to honor God that appeared to transcend time. As a result, people undertook impressive, long-term projects such as building magnificent cathedrals that took centuries to complete. Language and location helped shape people's lives too. Because travel was so difficult, many people didn't do it. Generally, only rich, educated people in Europe traveled. Almost everyone else stayed close to home. Although Latin was the language of both the church and government, only select members of society could understand that language. Most people lived an isolated existence. They did not travel far from home. As a result, most people communicated using the language or dialect spoken in the place of their birth. As strange as it may seem to us, in certain parts of Europe, villagers from places just 30 miles apart could not easily understand each other. For this reason, most people during the Middle Ages were concerned with the affairs of their village, what they owed the local lord in the way of payment, and how to ensure their place in heaven. And this is an example of a cathedral. The Cologne Cathedral took 632 years to complete. I'm going to zoom out for this. So this is showing medieval feudal society. It says, although this diagram does not include every aspect of medieval feudal society, it does show the people with the most power at the top, and the people with the least power at the bottom. Shows that the people at the bottom gave their loyalty to the people at the top. The people at the top gave protection to the people at the bottom. There was another force that had a huge impact on Western European society during the Middle Ages. This force came in the form of a deadly disease. The disease, called the Black Death or Plague, certainly made its mark upon medieval Europe. This dreadful plague first appeared in the 500s. In the second half of the 1300s, it swept through Europe once again. Spread by infected fleas that lived on rodents, the Black Death probably killed 1/3 of the population in Western Europe. Despite conflicts and hardships, this period in history was also a time when people created impressive and inspiring architecture. Great castles and churches began to adorn the landscape. Kings, queens, and noblemen held jousts, and court jesters entertained noble families. In Knights, Castles, and Chivalry, you will discover what it was like to work on the land for the local lord. You will learn about what life was like in the incredibly crowded towns of the Middle Ages. You will wander through a castle and find out how young men trained to be knights, Are you ready to explore this fascinating time in history? All right. Your questions for today. Remember to go back into the text to find the answers. Use those bolded words to help you. They will show you where to look in the text, and you can always rewind this video and listen back to the reading. Number 1, what does medieval mean? Number 2, what was the first major event that helped transform Western Europe leading to the Middle Ages? Number 3, the Germanic tribes invaded the Roman Empire to push the Huns further west. Is that true or false? Number 4, what is the papacy? Number 5, which was not a reason Charlemagne was called Charles the Great? So which is not a reason that this ruler was such a great ruler? Which statement is not true about life in the Middle Ages? What does the image on page 7 represent? Go back to page 7. What is the Black Death? Which was a positive effect of the Middle Ages? Number 10 is true or false. The church did not play a big part in the Middle Ages. Number 11, how was the feudal system useful for kings and lords? And number 12 is true or false. Our lives are very different from people's lives in the Middle Ages. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I will see you next time. Goodbye, Adams.